And it's hard for me to give a grade for Bryce Young just due to the fact you got to take into account that he played on arguably the worst team in the NFL this year. His numbers really don't reflect the season he had this year, because if you look at the numbers, you're like, oh yeah, he was a main reason the Panthers sucked, but that was not the case. After thinking about it for a very long time, I'm going to give Bryce Young a C-, and I think that's fair. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you are having a great Tuesday. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And we got a different type of video on our hands today, and I don't think we've ever made a video like this before in the history of the channel, but we're going to grade the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Every single year in the channel, especially in the offseason, we cover the rookie quarterbacks because it's one of the most interesting topics out there, not just in football, but in sports in general. Because with rookie quarterbacks, you just don't know what to expect. There may be a guy that you think for sure he's going to be a franchise quarterback, and he winds up being a bust. Vice versa, on the other hand, you can have a guy who was selected in the 4th or 5th round, didn't think he was going to do too much, and he turns into a star and an NFL legend of a quarterback. For example, I know it's cliche, but look at Tom Brady, and also look at Brock Purdy. He was the last pick in the NFL draft, and look at where he's at now, playing for a Super Bowl. And in the most recent NFL draft, we had 3 quarterbacks selected in the 1st round: Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. And Will Levis was supposed to be selected in the 1st round, but he wasn't, and he was taken in the 2nd round by the Titans. Although he wasn't selected in the 1st round, we're going to talk about him as well in this video, and I don't think you guys will mind too much. And what's really fascinating with all the quarterbacks taken in the 1st round every single year, although we don't know exactly who's going to pan out, here's what we do know. All of them are not going to pan out. And same thing here. There's no way, absolutely no shot, that Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson all pan out. No way. And when I say quote-unquote pan out, remember what we're talking about here. These are guys that are supposed to be the franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. These were not guys that were selected in the 3rd or 4th or 5th round where if they're just a bridge quarterback, you can label that as a success. No. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson were all selected inside the top 5. That's a franchise quarterback. You're not selecting CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson in the hopes that they can just be a good and solid starter for the next couple of years. So let's just get that clear right now. And heading into the most recent season for all these guys, there's heavy and high expectations. And it's for obvious reasons. For Bryce Young, he dominated college football and won a Heisman Trophy. For CJ Stroud, same thing. High character guy, and he dominated college football as well. And then we have good old Anthony Richardson. Although I wouldn't say he dominated college football, the talent, explosiveness, and potential, it was off the charts. And heading into the season, out of all 3 of these guys, I think everybody was in the same boat on this. Bryce Young, it looked like, was in the best position to succeed. The Panthers made a couple of moves in the offseason, and I know they weren't great, not this most recent year, but the previous year, so I guess technically 2 years ago, but they weren't bad. I remember talking about it in June and July just like it was yesterday. We were all in the same boat on this. CJ Stroud, by far, out of all 3 of these guys, he was in the worst situation, or at least that's what we thought. And then you could argue between Young and Richardson being in the overall best situation. And what's really funny, and I guess you'd say ironic about all this looking back on it, what happened to Bryce Young this year is exactly what I thought was going to happen to CJ Stroud. It was almost like the entire script flipped, and I'm going to rant and rave on CJ Stroud in this video because that dude had not just an amazing season, he had an unbelievable season. I don't think enough people out there are appreciating the job that CJ Stroud did this year. I know he's got a ton of recognition, but I think he needs some more. It is not normal for a rookie quarterback to go out there and seemingly dominate the NFL and play like an MVP caliber quarterback, and he did that. I'm not going to sit up here and say CJ Stroud should have won the MVP, but here's what I will tell you. He was playing like an MVP all throughout the season. I need to calm down. I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. Why don't we do this? We'll start out with Anthony Richardson first because it's short and simple. For those of you that don't know, he did get hurt fairly early in the season. I believe, yeah, he only played in 4 games. And I'll show you his stats and numbers right here. He played against the Jaguars, Texans, the Rams, and the Titans. And I hate we don't have a larger sample size and I can only go off of what I've seen, but what I did see in those few games he played in, I was impressed. I thought it was going to come out here and just look like a deer in headlights, but that wasn't the case. He's already physically gifted for the NFL. That's not a question mark. The question mark is, okay, can he read NFL defenses? And it looked like he could. Obviously, he's got a long, and I mean a very long way to go, but from what I've seen, like I said, I'm impressed. From what I've seen, though, I'm very comfortable with giving him a C+ this year. That's going to be my official grade for him, and let this be known right now. A C+ is good. Hopefully next year he can avoid the injuries, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Moving along here to our second guy we're going to talk about, Bryce Young. Let me pull up his numbers to give you all some perspective before I start to talk here. And yeah, you see his numbers right here. Not exactly the greatest. Roughly 2,900 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 INTs, and a QBR of 33.3, which ranks 29th in the league. Not good. To say the Carolina Panthers straight up sucked this year might be understating it. They didn't do their young quarterback any favors whatsoever, and how do you help out a young quarterback? Number one, give him a good offensive line and also give him some good weapons. The Panthers did none of that. The Panthers pretty much sent Bryce Young out there like a sitting duck for defenses to feed on. That's what happened. That's what I saw. Maybe some of y'all feel differently, and please, if you do, let me know in the comment section. But when I was watching the Panthers play, it was almost to the point where it was unwatchable. I couldn't bear it. And you got to take that into account when you're evaluating Bryce Young, because that's a huge reason for a lack of his success. In the NFL, it really does matter who you're playing for, and I'll offer you this. Imagine if Bryce Young and Brock Purdy, they flipped. Bryce Young was on the 49ers and Brock Purdy was on the Panthers. What do you think would happen? Do you really believe Bryce Young would have put up these same numbers on the 49ers? I don't think so. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. If you're a top pick, more times than not, you're going to a sucky team. And it's ironic because, like I stated, the Panthers weren't supposed to be this bad this year, but they were. The only bright spot you can take away from this season, and if you are a Panthers fan, I'd be clinging on to this, and also if you're a Bryce Young fan, is the end of the year, he showed you why he won the Heisman Trophy at Alabama. Against Green Bay, I know they lost 33-30, but at the end of the game, he was playing some of the best ball you'll ever see. He was making unreal throws left and right, and that was a game where it was like, okay, that's the Bryce Young we've come to know. And then after that, they played Atlanta. They only won 9-7, but Bryce Young, he put on a Houdini performance. So if you want to be a half glass full type of guy, the end of the year for Bryce Young, it was spectacular. Considering the circumstances, remember the circumstances, it was spectacular. I have no problem saying that whatsoever. And it's hard for me to give a grade for Bryce Young just due to the fact you got to take into account that he played on arguably the worst team in the NFL this year. After thinking about it for a very long time, I'm going to give Bryce Young a C-, and I think that's fair. I was floating between a D+ and C-, but due to the outstanding performances in the last couple of games outside the final one against the Saints, I'll bump him up to a C-. Remember, I'm not great in the Panthers. I'm great in Bryce Young, and let's not act like Bryce Young is not Bryce Young. If you know, you know. His numbers really don't reflect the season he had this year, because if you look at the numbers, you're like, oh yeah, he was a main reason the Panthers sucked, but that was not the case. He was put in an awful situation, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon, and I'm wishing him the best of luck, but it's not looking pretty. I'll go with a C- for old Bryce Young. Let me know in the comment section, what grade you give him for Bryce? Moving along here to the guy I told you we was going to talk about in the intro, Will Levis, quarterback for the Titans. The Will Levis one's going to be relatively short and simple like Anthony Richardson, because he only appeared in, I believe it was either 5 or 6 games. Didn't wind up starting till the later half of the season, and there were some ups, but there was also some downs. Overall, though, I like what I saw out of Will Levis. Had 8 touchdowns to 4 interceptions and a QBR of 33.1. That's not very good, but I think it is somewhat deceiving. The Titans were not a very good team this year, but the brightest spot for Will Levis and the Titans was when they upset Miami 28-27, and Will Levis went off. And if you've been keeping up with the channel for a long time, you know this. Your boy Matt is a professional Will Levis hater. But I tell you what I saw out of him this year, it had me believing that he potentially could be a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying he could win you a Super Bowl, but I think he's got what it takes. And like I said, if you've been listening to me for a long time, you know how crazy that is for that statement to come out of my mouth. I like what I saw this year. Maybe it's all for nothing. Maybe it was a smoke show. Maybe he goes back to sucking next year, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. And due to me liking what I've seen this year, I'm going to give old Will Levis here a C+. Not really going to explain it. I think it's self-explanatory. Let me know what you would give Will Levis. But now finally, moving on to the last quarterback we're going to talk about, the man, the myth, the legend himself, CJ Stroud. Whew, I love this guy. I love everything about his game. I've been keeping up with him dating back to high school football, so nothing I've seen in this past year has shocked me to the slightest of bits. I don't even know what his final stats were. I haven't even looked at him, so let's pull it up here. I know it's going to be something unreal. Yeah, whew. Take a look at this. Over 4,000 passing yards, top 10 in the league. 23 touchdowns. And that might not impress you, but here is the most impressive part about CJ Stroud's stat line. Only 5 interceptions. Man, oh man, that's awesome. 57.4 QBR, and I just can't get over the 5 interceptions. Normally, rookie quarterbacks are throwing anywhere from 14, 15 touchdowns and also like 14 interceptions. But for CJ Stroud and the Texans this year, what made him so good is they took care of the ball. And here's the thing with Stroud. Even if you thought he was going to have a really good season, I think it still somewhat, to a certain degree, overexceeded your expectations. What was that one game? What was it again? Oh, yeah, against Tampa Bay. He had 470 passing yards. And yet again, the most impressive stat line about that game is 5 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. I could go up here and break down all the games, but y'all saw him. You get the point. CJ Stroud had a fantastic season. And I even stated a couple weeks ago, he should finish top 5, top 6 in the MVP voting. I don't see why not. Remember, heading into the season, we thought the Texans were going to suck. And what was the main reason of their success this year? CJ Stroud. And the crazy thing is, rookies will never get the MVP love they deserve just because they're labeled as a quote-unquote rookie. But I think you should throw that out the window. If a rookie's balling out and playing like an MVP, they got to get some votes. There's no need to sit up here and overcomplicate this one because there's nothing complicated about it. Let me give you my grade for CJ Stroud. I wanted to do it because I don't know if we'll ever see a rookie quarterback play this good again, at least in my lifetime, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give him an A. I wanted to, guys. I wanted to give him an A+, but an A+, it's perfect. And just due to I want to leave some room for improvement, I'm going to go with an A. But I can't emphasize enough how much I hate doing that because there's nothing about his game that could have been better this year. From all aspects of a rookie quarterback, he checked off all the boxes. Great numbers, great stats. He was winning games, great leader. Everything was great. And I'm trying to think of something I'd nitpick at here, but I'm drawing a blank. What would you nitpick at? Let me know in the comment section. What is one area of CJ Stroud's game that you think needs to improve? Realistically speaking here, if he can just maintain the success, he's going to be an NFL legend. I got nothing to nitpick at him. Maybe I should be giving him an A+, but I'll just stick with my gut. I'll go with an A. Maybe next year we have a rookie quarterback that goes out here and throws for 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So I don't want to give him an A+ just due to that being a possibility. There's many more things I could say, but we'll do this. I'll end it off here. Let me know your thoughts down below.